So, public schools will close on the 27th of July for 4 weeks. It followed calls from teachers' unions and parent and student organisations. Nobesuthu Hejana is in Kraaifontein in the Western Cape, while Mawande Kheswa is in Durban North. Let me come to you first, Nobesuthu. What is the situation there at the moment and the response to this closure?
Well, a very good morning to you, Jane. Now, in just a few moments after the President's announcement of the 4-week break for certain grades and a 1-week break for the grade 12s, the Western Cape MEC for Education, Davy Schaefer, took to Twitter and she tweeted that you can't tell me what to do. Now, many people rather engaged her on Twitter, asking her whether the schools in the Western Cape will continue or not. She responded with no, and that she will study the Gazette. But I'm now joined by the SGB member from Bernardino High School here in Kraaifontein, Mr. Eugene Thomas. Now, Mr. Thomas, as parents, what is your reaction to the President's announcement?
The President's announcement of last night was quite a surprise. Simple reason for that, I think it was long overdue. Since we have reached our peak with this pandemic, I would say that it should have been, like they call it last night, a break. This break should have been done about a month ago, so that the children, now that the curve is more or less starting to flat, to let them come back to school in this essence. But like I said, last night's school closure or break, like he called it, is quite a surprise. But like I said, it's something that was long overdue.
Now, we were talking earlier, and then you mentioned that the reopening of schools should have not been announced before. So what is your take on that? Should the schools have been reopened?
Yeah, I would have said that right in the beginning, yeah, that was a bit harsh for our children to go to school, because I don't think none of us basically know what we were going to face. So since the school has been opening, a lot of our children and our educators has been affected. And then we're also looking at the mere fact that our parents, if you look at the teachers themselves, are parents, and our children, like I've heard over the last couple of months, they're not the strong carriers of this pandemic itself. However, but if they do have it and they take it home, and I've read a few of these letters that was written from the children that went to school, and after a week or two, even 3 weeks, then he all of a sudden find himself as, how can I say it, as a child that is no longer have got a mother or a grandmother, or he become like a homeless child, not a homeless child, a foster child. And then also on that, if I may say that at North Point Primary, or for our neighboring schools from this one, from Bernardino, where I'm standing, there was like 9 educators at one stage infected with this pandemic. So that gives us an idea. Well, it's not that the parents or the teachers are negligent in terms of their health, but it does come. We don't know where it comes from, how this thing can surface, but in the end of the day, that's my take on it.
And also, you were telling me that as SGB members, you feel like you were neglected and you were not consulted. But also, how is this going to affect the children, especially with their schoolwork?
Well, some of our schools have this online groups where they circulate their schoolwork and stuff. But I feel with regards to the SGB members, the Department of Education or the Western Cape government, the WCED has been put so much pressure on you as a SGB member, so that you must now, in terms of the governing of the school, you must be on par with a lot of school legislations, procedures and policies and those kind of things. So in other words, it's very difficult now in this time to put your opinion doesn't count, basically. If I just look at the tweets that went out on social media, is that our minister, or I think it's Debbie Safer, said on a one tweet that I can now just think about, nobody's going to tell her what to do. So, I mean, she's still a public servant at the end of the day. And I mean, for her, she becomes now basically reckless in terms of that statement that she made on tweet.
Thank you very much. Well, Jane, that was Mr. Thomas, a chairperson of the SGB here at Bernardino Heights Secondary School in Kraaifontein. And many reactions towards MEC Davy Schaefer's tweet last night. Like, he mentioned that they feel as parents that she's not really taking the responsibility as a public servant, and that she's not thinking about the children if she wishes to oppose the decision by the president.
All right, thanks for that. Let's go over to Durban North, where Mawande is standing by. And how is the closure of schools playing out there today?
Well, I've gone around the Durban North area visiting various private of school, which is one of the private schools in the area. Private schools are a topic of discussion. The Congress of South task team released a statement saying that the very same inequality that the government is trying to address, it is perpetuating by allowing private schools to remain open. And it is against that situation, because what it then says is that your social status, or rather your financial status within the economy and within the country, will determine whether or not you'll be able to continue receiving an education during this period. As we know, schools will be closed as from the 27th of July. Private schools, however, will most likely remain open. Now, COSAS has come out to say that in the events that private schools do remain open, they will do whatever is in their powers to ensure that all those private schools will be closed. They are strongly against the continuation of the educational program as far as private schools are concerned. And I did hear you earlier on speaking, saying that the education department had said that private schools have their own calendar planning, which they are bound by as far as how they plan. But COSAS is saying that no matter what the situation or the circumstances are, that is not fair, because they will continue to be able to write exams, receive an education, while those who are unfortunate to be in public schools, be it as it may, will then be sitting at home and unable to receive an education during that period.
Right, yeah. Quite a big day for many students. Mawande in Durban North and Nobesuthu in the Western Cape. Thank you for that.